I remember last week I spoke about dreams. We're looking at sources of dreams. So I spoke about ordinary transitory dreams, where I said, according to Job chapter 20, verse 8, he says he flies away like a dream. So Ecclesiastes 5:3a tells us that these dreams come about through the multitude of businesses. So we discussed that. Then we said, apart from this category, we have revelatory dreams, where they are the kind of dreams where a deity conveys particular message to the dreamer. And I use the word deity because I explained that it is not only religious people who have dreams, other people dream. And when you go through the Bible, you discover that in the Old Testament, we have dreams. In Egypt, we have dreams. In Babylon, we have in Israel. So it means that not only the people of God, but other people of different religious persuasions were received revelations through dreams. And so I did mention that it is dreams are significant because in a dream, God can give you a vision, but you cannot have a vision. You can have a vision in a dream, but you cannot have a dream in a vision. And so sometimes in the Old Testament, dream, vision are used as synonyms, just as in contemporary times, one could be talking about my vision in life, and at the same time be referring to my dream in life. Okay. And so these are some of the things.
They could be used interchangeably.
And so we also said that for those who might be thinking, well, that's the Old Testament, we saw that in the New Testament, God used dreams to communicate certain important messages to about Jesus, to the Father, and other important things. Basically, these were the things we looked at last week.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the key question for tonight. Yes. How do we interpret the dreams we have?
This is a question that demands a lot of time. And I'm going to try as much as possible to go into certain pertinent areas which would help our listeners. I think that before I go on, I would like to say that the reason for this, is to build people in such a way that you grow in the knowledge of God and to be able to interpret dreams so that you don't run after prophets, don't run after pastors. Anytime you have a dream that God has given you the capacity to interpret. So I'm not going to go the usual way. Okay, if you see this, it means this. If you see that, it means that. But I'm going to try to give a foundation where every believer needs to have, and then certain important component of dreams, as we see in the Bible, that can help in the interpretation of dreams. And so let me talk about, when we talk about interpretation of dreams, I believe that we are talking about revelatory dreams.
That's right.
Because we did establish that the first category is just the multitude of businesses we do that come up. But in the revelatory, God is communicating something to the person. So if God is communicating something to the dreamer, what is the foundation a dreamer needs to have? Every believer is a dreamer because God speaks to us through dreams. And so what is the foundation? The first foundation I want to talk about is spiritual connectivity and sensitivity to the things of God. Spiritual connectivity and sensitivity to the things of God. Why is this significant? This is significant because if a dream is a spiritual communication, then there has to be that connectivity. There has to be that sensitivity for the person to be receptive and for the person to be able to interpret what divinity has communicated to the person. In Genesis chapter number 41, verse 38, we see the story of Joseph. Now, the Bible said when Joseph interpreted the dream to Pharaoh and then gave what he wants to be done in order to let the vision God has given be profitable to the society, he gave certain prescriptions. And then said you would need somebody who is wise. To take charge of that. Then the moment he said that, Pharaoh said, where can we find somebody in whom the Spirit of God is like you? Some interpreters think that, well, Pharaoh was not connected to the God of Israel, so possibly he was talking about the spirit of the gods. Some say, no, possibly because of that encounter with Joseph, it gave a different perspective to him, and so he was referring to the God of the Bible, or the God of the Jew. Whatever the case is, the key point here is that Pharaoh said, where can we find someone in whom the Spirit of God is? Why? Because of Joseph's ability to interpret his dream, he felt that this man had to have had some connection to God to be able to decode what the Spirit was communicating to them. So you have to be connected to God. Again, 1 Corinthians chapter number 2, verse 14, Paul says, spiritual things are spiritually discerned. So if a dream is a spiritual communication, then it has to be spiritually discerned. He uses he uses some interesting words here. In the Greek, we call that pneumatikos anakrinetai. And then when he says spiritually, pneumatikos, what it means is in a manner consistent with the divine spirit. Now, why is this significant? Because if it is a dream communicated by God, then the interpretation should be consistent with the divine spirit. In other words, that dream cannot be telling you what is contrary to what the Spirit of God wants the child of God to do. And so it should be in a manner consistent with the Spirit of God. And then number 2, he says it is spiritually discerned. What does it mean to discern? That word means to question. It means to judge. It is also a legal term which means to investigate or to examine. Now, this is very significant because it tells us that being spiritual is not enough, but when it comes to dreams, apart from being spiritual, it takes some sort of intellectual exercises. Because if you are to do investigation, if you are to do examination, it means that it calls for some sort of intellectual exercises, but not just intellectual, but intellectual exercises situated within the context of Christian spirituality, so that you are not just using your mind, but you are using a mind that has been transformed or renewed by the Spirit to do that. And so to discern, to judge, to investigate. That's why last week when some people gave dreams, I was asking a lot of questions, because there is the need to interrogate the dream, to ask a lot of things before, in every investigation. You can't just appear at a scene and then see something and investigation is done. No, you ask a lot of questions and you do a lot of things. So in this case, it means that apart from spiritual connectivity to God, you have to be biblically literate. You need to know your Bible, because in order not to have something that contradicts what the Spirit says, you have to be able to know your Bible. How does knowing the Bible and dream interpretation match? Because sometimes you come across certain things which have been used in the Bible and they have been given various interpretations that if you are a child of God and you know, it helps you. For instance, garment. The Bible talks a lot of things. The Bible says a lot of things about the garment. The Bible talks about grain, so that when you see yourself in a grain field and you have a theological understanding on what God says about grain in the Bible, it helps you to be able to interpret. And then also, dreams sometimes they are symbolic messages. And then the Bible is full of symbolisms. So by this, you are able to decode certain things. When you know what the Bible says about it, it is easy for you to identify what you have seen in the dream. And then finally, let me talk about having a knowledge of your context.
Okay.
By your context, the cultural context comes in. Because if you look at the dream of Joseph, last week I said he saw himself in a field. And culturally, what he saw was an agricultural scene. It was a harvest time. That means that, assuming the people did not understand the culture, that no, what this boy is talking about is an agricultural scene. All of them would not have been able to interpret or understand what he was saying. So you need to know your culture, your context, because God usually uses the context. Again, Pharaoh. In Pharaoh's dream, it was connected to the Nile.
Yes.
It was connected. God did not use something in Israel to communicate to him, just as God did not use something in Egypt to communicate to Joseph. In both cases, he used their context. And the river Nile, how was Joseph able to come by that deductions he made in the dream? The river Nile has a lot of agricultural significance, because if you look at the Nile, number one, it was used for irrigation in Bible times. So it is believed that when the Nile was low, there was famine. Again, number two, Jeremiah chapter 2:18 refers to this river as the rivers of Sheol. And the word Sheol, some translate that to mean black river. Why black? Because they believe that the river Nile contained some black soil, which was a fertilizer. So whenever it overflowed, wherever it touched, this black soil, which was fertilizer, was released. So irrigation, fertilization. So seeing something come out which is lean and seeing something come out which is fat could communicate directly to Joseph that this is a case of a bountiful harvest and a case of famine. All these are as a result of the knowledge a person has in the culture of the time. And then there are things to note about dreams to guide interpretation. There are what I call the doubles. The doubles. What do I mean by the doubles? Sometimes God can communicate a dream in two forms. So you can have one dream and have another dream which is almost the same. They may not have the same storyline, but the conclusion or deductions would be the same. Now, whenever you see doubles, it means it is something that God intends to do. If it is negative, it means it is something the enemy intends to do. In the Old Testament, New Testament, the Bible gives two as the 2 or 3 for witness. 2 or 3 for witness. Now, if you look at Genesis 41, verse 1 to 7, Pharaoh gave his dreams, 2 dreams. The moment he gave the 2 dreams, in verse 25, Joseph told the king that the dreams are one and the same. 2 dreams. But Joseph said the dreams are one and the same. And he said, God has revealed what he's about to do. In other words, the emphasis in other words, God has revealed what he's determined to do. The fact that the dream has come once, it has come at another time, though in a different form, but the import is maintained in both dreams. It means that it is something God intends to do. So God gave Joseph 2 dreams to mean that this is something I intend to do. And then no matter what they did about it, because it was something God had intended to do, instead of destroying the dream, they rather helped to push him into the place that God had destined for the person. So you need to watch out for doubles. When you are seeing one thing, it may not be the same. For instance, maybe you saw yourself drinking a cup of tea and blah, 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 and the next time it's a cup of tea, blah, blah. It may not be the same. It may be but
different scenarios.
But the import, when you see that the import of both dreams are pointing to the same thing, it means it is something that God intends to do or something that demonic forces intend to do. Then, again, there is what we call inner witness. Inner witness. When you wake up from a dream, what happens in you? We see a lot of examples in the Bible where the people woke up and they were confused. Sometimes you have a dream, you wake up, you are not confused, you are very excited. You may not even have understood the whole thing.
But the dream seems
some
good.
Joy, some excitement. And sometimes you wake up very worried. What is happening? What is going to happen? They are indicators. It means you are either something good or something bad.
So if I get you, the emotions you wake up with from the dream has a telling effect of what kind of dream you've had.
Let me not use. Do we use the word emotions? Let me use sometimes the joy. You see, as a believer, you have the joy of the Lord. There is joy in your spirit. You cannot figure out what is going to happen, but something in you bears witness that something good is about to happen.
What if it's negative?
If it's negative, it means something bad. Your spirit is picking signals that something bad. If you check the butler and the baker.
Yes.
Worried. They were worried, and something bad was going to happen. Okay, so sometimes as a believer, your spirit tells you, no, this is good. Your spirit tells you. So the inner witness, you need to pay attention to the inner witness. That is why I think that Joseph never shared his dream because he wanted interpretation. No. How do I know this? In the life of Joseph, if you look at the narrative on Joseph, 6 dreams. He had 2, the butler and the baker had 2, Pharaoh had 2, 6. If you separate the 4 for the 3 people, all of them who did not understand were worried and they wanted an interpreter.
Okay.
Joseph never showed that he wanted an interpreter. Rather, this is what he said. Look at this dream I had. So it meant that the boy certainly understood, since all the brothers understood. And if the brothers had the Spirit of God, as wicked as they were, if they had the Spirit of God, I want to believe that Joseph also had the Spirit of God in him to be able to discern what was happening. But rather, he was telling them for them to know where God was going to take him. So if you look at all these factors, they guide you in your interpretation of dream.
Okay.
They guide you in your interpretation of dream.
It's very interesting points here. But this comes to mind as well. You referred to the case of the butler and the baker. Both of them woke up with a dream that caused them worry.
Yeah.
Okay, because it felt like something negative was going to happen. Yeah. In one person's case, which was the butler, he's ended up badly.
Yeah.
His head ended up being cut off. But the butler was restored to his job.
Yeah.
So the outcome of the dream was positive for one and negative for the other. But both of them woke up with a worry from their dream. Okay. How is that possible?
What was the source of the worry? The source of the worry was because, number one, we are dealing with people who did not have a connection to the God of Joseph.
Okay.
And then number 2, they did not understand what was going to happen. And whenever there is no understanding, it gives a cause to worry.
Okay.
So for their case, it was the lack of understanding of what was going to happen. Because they believed that, no, this could be a spiritual communication. Something is going to happen. But they did not have the capacity to decode. And that was the source of the worry. So what I'm trying to say is that we are talking to believers. And in the case of believers, the Spirit of God is in you. And the Spirit of God in you has a way of igniting some joy. That is not even based on the happenings around.
Okay.
But it is solely dependent on the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Spirit in your heart.
Wow. Okay, time exactly 31 minutes after 8. You're listening to A Walk with Jesus here on Joy 99.7, your channel for true divine inspiration and blessing. And tonight we're discussing how to interpret dreams. I believe you've been loaded. You've been loaded. You've had some very, very deep insights that can help you from today. No need to become frantic or frustrated or anxious or fearful when you wake up from any dreams. In the meantime, you can join the conversation. You can ask questions. I've seen WhatsApp is just loading up many questions. Keep them coming. Some of you who sent your questions, I think from last week's episode, will get in some of your questions and see whether we can get you some answers. But you can send yours in case you have any issues or questions or comments regarding interpreting of dreams. Send it to WhatsApp 0244 340 437. Again, 0244 340 437. And then also on Facebook. That is Facebook/JoyTime. Facebook/JoyTime. And you can send it across. Okay. So, Prof, now I want to ask this question.
Yes.
How do we deal with bad dreams, if you will, negative dreams? Okay, like the kind people have sent quite a number of them. You see somebody fighting you or chasing you, or you see witches and dogs and all manner of snakes and that kind of. How do you deal with them?
Okay. I think that number one, you need to be able to ascertain whether this is a bad dream.
Okay.
That becomes the point of departure.
Okay.
If you know this is a bad dream, then the next line of action is, what do I do? Mm-hmm. You know, as children of God, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Mm-hmm. You see, so when you have seen that you are in the middle of a bad situation, you are in a battle. What do? You pray.
Okay.
You pray. So understanding the dream determines the line of prayer you're going to pray. If you don't understand, you certainly would not know what to pray about. But if you understand, then you pray to cancel the effect of what you have seen.
Okay.
Because the dream becomes a warning that something is ahead. God is warning you because he wants a way to interrupt and then block what is going to happen. So your prayer becomes the tool that God is going to use to destroy whatever has been planned. And then I think that you would also need to be counseled. Because sometimes we don't have knowledge in all areas. So you certainly need a matured believer. And I'm not using the word a prophet or apostle or, because in these times people think that, oh, if I dream, I need to find a prophet. But if you have a matured believer who understands the things of the Spirit, the things of God, has good Bible knowledge, the person can guide you in what to do.
Doesn't whoever you consult need to have, if you will, the ability or the gift of being able to interpret dreams necessary to help anybody in that direction?
Okay, I think that is why when I began, I indicated that some of the things I'm sharing is to help every believer.
Okay.
There are levels of dreams. For instance, Joseph meets the butler and the baker. We are using that example because it's familiar.
Yeah.
They tell the dream. He doesn't pray about it. He gives the explanation.
Okay.
Now he appears before Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, I've heard about you. I also had a dream. And he tells Pharaoh that God is the one who is going to give the interpretation. Now in Babylon, when Nebuchadnezzar had a dream and forgot and threatened to kill the wise men, the wise men told him that, look, we have seen soothsayers, enchanters, and all those guys working for kings. This is an impossible situation. Nobody can do it. Nobody among men can do it. And then Daniel goes to pray, finds the dream, finds the meaning of the dream. So there are some dreams that by spiritual maturity, you are supposed to be able to interpret.
Okay.
There are some dreams that the spiritual maturity might not be enough. You may have to go back to God and pray. That is why I gave knowledge in the Bible, culture. So after you have applied all these principles and you see that this is not working, then you go back to God to pray. But every matured believer and man of God, one of the reasons I think that people think that, oh, every believer should not be able, is because people have not trained themselves in such a way that they can handle some of these things. Okay, but it begins from one step.
Okay.
When you have one, you use your knowledge in the Bible and some of these factors to try your hands on.
Okay.
You get the meaning. It works just as you saw. It gives you the courage to attempt another.
Okay.
So you have to begin from somewhere. So for me, every matured believer, once you apply some of these things, you understand your Bible, some of these symbolisms, you are supposed to be able to interpret some dreams.
Okay. Some dreams, not all dreams.
Not all.
Well, somebody is hoping to be able to interpret all the dreams they have, because if especially revelatory dreams, if you need to get the import of the wisdom or the message, or if you will, the vision that God is giving to you. If you can't interpret it, you be blocked at some point. That can stagnate your life. I'm quite curious though about the gifting, because in the case of Joseph, interpreting the dream for Pharaoh, it was his gifting.
Okay.
In Daniel's case was the same.
Okay.
So you don't reckon that having the gift, besides all the knowledge, the knowledge is very, very critical. Knowing the word, knowing the culture, understanding the context of whatever, and that kind of stuff. But beside that, doesn't the gift to interpret dreams play a role in how effective somebody can actually interpret dreams?
It does. But even if it's a gift, God doesn't give, quote unquote, matured gift.
Okay.
The gift comes as a seed.
And you need to develop
the person develops, nurtures, tries his or her hands on some of these dreams, then the person matures in the gift.
Okay.
So the gift play a role, but every gift has to be exercised before the gift grows.
It becomes excellent.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're close to. I know the questions just keeps rolling down. So, but for now, let me ask you just one more question.
Yes.
What should be a believer's immediate response or reaction to a dream, whether good or bad?
I think that in all situations we have to give thanks to God. So when you wake up from a dream, whether it is good or bad, the first thing is to thank God for that revelation.
Okay.
Because what if God had decided not to reveal?
To reveal to you.
So you need to be thankful for that revelation.
Okay.
Then after you have thanked him for that revelation, you seek the counsel of God. What's the way forward? What's the way forward? Sometimes, God has a way of speaking to everybody. God may lead you to do something.
Okay.
Or you may want to talk to a matured believer.
Okay.
Possibly a prayer partner, a friend you can trust who is matured in the things of God to guide you. Sometimes the dreams themselves come with certain prescriptions. Do this, do that.
Shows you. Then in the dream, it shows you what you're supposed to do.
What you're supposed to do. So when you have those prescriptions, you go according to what God has revealed to you. Just like I think it was Paul the Apostle. I think it was Peter rather who had a revelation of someone inviting him to Macedonia. In that dream, there is an instruction.
Okay.
There is an invitation.
Okay.
So he followed what had been revealed. So some dreams come with instructions. So in the case where there are no instructions, now you seek counsel from a mature person to guide you.
Okay.
The ones you need to pray to enforce, you pray to enforce.
Okay.
The ones you need to pray to destroy, you pray to destroy.
Okay, so which one do you enforce and which one do you destroy?
When you see that clearly God is speaking to you and it's a good dream, it's a good news.
Okay.
It's a good news. You pray that the will of God be done.
Okay.
You pray that, because sometimes the truth of the matter is not every dream, though God has revealed, but sometimes pastors or every believer can tell you the experiences where God gave them marvelous dreams consistently.
Okay.
And if you look at where they are, sometimes you wonder whether God was using the dream to tease you or just to tell you that.
Make you get excited.
Because if you compare the dreams to your reality,
Okay.
vast difference.
Vast difference.
But still, it is God communicating to you. So when you see that this is God,
Could it be not that their time is not up yet? Because
Sure.
sometimes God gives you, for instance, in the case of I don't know whether that was a dream or a vision that Abraham had. Okay. Abraham at several years old, God brings him out and shows him the heavens and says, "Look at the stars, and that's how your children are going to be." But it took quite a long time before. So maybe the person's vision or dream that they had, which is showing them where God wants to take him, comparatively to their current situation, maybe a complete mismatch. However, is it so when people see such dreams consistently, but their lives situation doesn't seem to match it? Should they be worried or should they be excited and still stand strong and hope?
You should not be worried.
Okay.
I think it calls for excitement.
Okay.
It tells you that I'm not there yet, but God is still working. God gives some of these dreams to sort of encourage you to know that it is not all lost.
Okay.
You are not where I have planned for you to be, but you are getting there. So it's just a matter of time. And sometimes to work on some things before you get there.
Okay. I believe that now we can go to some of our questions on the okay, I'll pick from last week and then the ones currently on the WhatsApp. Okay, so one question from last week first. One says, "Good evening, Reverend. Please, what can be said about repeated dreams that do have similar themes? And how about dreams that have the opposite happening in real life? How does that happen? Thank you."
Okay, I think that I've spoken about repeated dreams.
Yeah, you touched on that.
That it is something God intends to do or something that would happen.
Okay.
Okay, that is repetition. And sometimes you might have a dream And what's the question? That do not reflect or opposite?
Opposite. Like, for instance, you see something in a dream that somebody has died, but they are alive.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Or somebody is dead.
Okay.
But you see them in a dream that they are alive. They're talking to somebody and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
What does it mean?
In such dreams, they require a lot of details.
Okay.
You know, investigation.
Okay.
So you need a lot of details. What happened to them before? What was their situation? What was the relationship between you and the people?
Okay.
You need all these details to be able to say this or that.
To be able to break it down. Okay. One more question. I'll do 3 on either side as we go so we can wrap it up really quickly. It says, please, what is the relationship between dreams and deja vu? I sometimes feel deja vus are dreams. I don't remember.
I don't really know what it means by
deja vu is like something that keep repeating, like a negative situation or whatever that keeps recurring. Actually,
keeps recurring. How is it in a vision?
No, in actuality.
Okay.
Actual instance, like maybe a negative thing, you constantly maybe end up in a broken relationship or something like that, or an accident, one after the other, that kind of stuff.
And the question is, what is the relationship?
Is the relationship between dreams and deja vu?
No, what kind of dreams?
Okay, so people, some of your questions are leave too many questions for answers. So maybe you can break it down. Whatever you want to really ask, please narrow it down. Precious says, Pastor, please, what is the cause of irrelevant dreams? You talk about the transient dreams.
Last week, transitory dreams, we said the businesses you do, sometimes what you have been going through show up in your dream.
Okay. All right. So activities of life.
Yeah.
So don't mean much. Okay. One says, even in Reverend Abo say, I do dream, but the problem is that I sometimes remember the dream after 2 or 3 days from the day I had a dream. Okay, that's not a question, you're just saying it. Okay, let's try and go to some of our questions for today. One says, okay, whoa, sorry, please, I mean, this is a long thesis. Can we manage it? Producer. Okay, let me see if I can try. Pastor Ransford, good evening. Pastor, I'm confused because it's written in my great, wow, okay, I don't know what, man of God, one of his book called Satan Get Lost. And the topic of that chapter is dreams, Satan night traps. Dreams, Satan's night trap, or his nighttime trap. And I start reading from there. Here, this is how Satan set traps for people through dreams. Really? Many have been trapped into untimely deaths, accidents, and various misfortunes through dreams. The devil presents them with pictures that instill fear in them. And when what they feared now comes to pass, you hear them say, you see, God showed me this thing in the dream. When I dream it, it always comes to pass exactly as I saw it. Beware of dreams. Then the Bible said, your old men shall dream dreams. Until you are old, you are not permitted to dream dreams. Really? At 75, Abraham saw visions. So at 75, you're still a young man. You have some ideas, man. All right. So what are you doing with dreams? They are nothing but snares. Be awake. And he continued, dream Bible dreams. We are not just called to go to bed and dream after a heavy dinner, but to dream of great future that agree with God's plan for our life. To be dreamless is to be doomed. The word, the Bible, is God's dream bank, which is his dream, his future for a triumphant living. So, Pastor, I want to know, it is good to dream at a young age. Is it good to dream at a young age? And that's from Marconi from Tema. Very, very long physical message. But did you get anything from what he's trying to put out there?
If I got him right, I think that you see, when it comes to certain passages in the Bible, the context, you just cannot just apply them to dreams and say it is old men. Yeah. Because young people, Joseph's dream was at a very young age. Yeah. All right. So Rita from Pong says, please, I always dream about snake crossing my path, sometimes chasing me. What is the interpretation of this dream?
I know these ones can be quite very quirky. Snakes chasing you, is it a good thing or not?
What happened? At what time? What did you do?
Okay. So there are a lot of questions that you need to answer before Prof can break it out. Good evening, Pastor. Okay, my name is Pastor Ransford. Pastor 2 is enjoying himself at home. He says, I'm almost surrounded by snakes. Almost always surrounded by snakes, but they are unable to attack me in my dreams. Also, I find myself alone in forest or areas surrounded by trees, especially close to my hometown. Please, what does this mean? That's Frank from Amasaman. This one has.
This one has some meaning.
Okay.
Because if you are surrounded by snakes and they are unable to attack you, it means that in the dream you saw that they wanted to attack you, but they were unable to attack you. It makes a lot of meaning.
Okay.
Because every believer is surrounded by a lot of
evil
who want to cause harm and evil. But the presence of God around you does not. For instance, Job, I have formed an edge. So even though snakes are around you, but the edge preserves you from destruction. So that makes a lot of meaning.
Particular context as well, where he sees himself in forest areas and stuff close to his hometown.
Okay.
Does that have any significance?
Could you please go back to the question again?
Okay. Yeah.
He says he sees himself in a forest.
In a lot of, like a wooded area, a lot of times. Let me see.
Are they in connection to the snakes?
Well,
or different dream.
Okay, that's like a different dream. So I also find myself alone in forest or areas surrounded by trees, especially close to my hometown.
When you find yourself in those areas, what are you doing? Because sometimes the place of isolation or seclusion may not always be negative.
Okay,
God separated some people. Go to the brook, Elijah.
Okay.
So sometimes, it is what you are doing there that gives
the meaning.
I'm in a forest.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes before we wrap up. Maybe you can join us on the phone lines whilst we still do some of the messages. You can call 0302 216541. Again, 0302 216541. If you're calling from outside Ghana, use the international code +233 before you dial. Okay, we're waiting for your questions and comments. Meantime, one says, I saw red ants in my dreams and was beaten by some but killed most of them with insecticide spray. Please, can you help with the interpretation?
Oh my God.
I know you hear this kind of things a lot.
Well, that's the first time I'm hearing.
Oh, really?
In your dream using insecticide.
Insecticide, yeah. The dream is powerful. Very, very, very muddy. Okay, we have Margaret from Winneba. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, madam. How are you?
Very well, thanks. How about you?
We're doing well. Thank you very much. Let's hear you, ma'am.
Yes. I've been dreaming a lot. And many times some of them happen.
The dreams happen. They come to pass.
Yes.
Okay.
Recently, I dreamt that I was in a car and then suddenly somebody crossed and the car hit him. And I was so worried. I was crying and crying. But when I got up, I prayed so much against it that it should not happen.
Okay.
But that same day, in a car, a car in which I was sitting hit a lamp. So as soon as the car hit the lamp, it just reminded me of the dream.
Okay.
I don't know why it happened, even though I prayed against it.
Okay.
You see, if you saw a car hitting a human being, and then you saw a car hitting a lamp, I think that these are two different situations. Because hitting a lamp would not cause any harm, loss to the owner of the lamp.
Okay.
But hitting a human being
is heavier.
Loss.
Yeah, is heavier. Okay. We have Fafa from the Volta region. Hello, Fafa.
Hello. Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. How are you?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's hear you.
Pastor, I have been having a dream of a mad person.
Okay.
I had it on 2 occasions. I prayed over it, but it keeps coming.
What does the mad person do to you? Do to you or do in your dream?
Sometimes he hits me. Sometimes I just see him or her.
Okay,
And
so
there was a time long ago, I had a dream about a mad person taking a check from me.
The mad person took a check from you.
Yes, sir.
And there are other times you've seen him hit you.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you, Fafa. Please listen.
These ones could be, certain attacks from families.
Okay.
Sometimes covenants.
Okay.
Ancient
covenants,
because
ancestral links and stuff.
Because mad people, it means that something coming in disguise or deception to take what belongs to you. Mad people have no dealings with checks. So if a mad person has the audacity to not to come for your shoe, not to come for, but for a check, it tells you where the thing is going. It means there could be some sort of covenant that ought to be dealt with. Yeah.
Okay. How do you deal with such things that have telling effect on probably your finances, your progress in life, and that kind of stuff? How do you deal with it?
Sometimes it's not everything we pray once and they are gone. Sometimes you need to be consistent with this thing. Consistent prayer. Okay.
Warfare prayer.
Warfare. For a period of time. Sometimes God allows some of these things around us to also build us.
Okay.
Because without some of these challenges, some of us, our Christian faith might not even be that strong.
Okay.
So sometimes you need some of these blows, coming from left,
to keep
right,
you awake,
to keep you awake.
Praying and fasting, Okay. Let's talk to Vivian on the Sphincter Zone. Hello, Vivian.
Hello, good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
We're good, thank you. Let's hear you, ma'am.
Please, my mother died about 10 years ago. But I always dream about her. When she was alive, I was too close to her.
Okay.
So sometimes I see her, I sit with her cooking, sometimes washing. So I don't understand.
Okay, please listen. You see, I'm speaking about possibilities.
Okay.
Possibilities. Sometimes when you are close to somebody, in their absence, some of the things you shared in common could be playing back.
Okay.
That's a possibility. However, because we are not ignorant of the devices of the enemy, we don't want to take the other side for granted.
Okay.
It could also be a joining.
Okay.
So a possibility.
Okay, a joining
that person might join.
Okay.
The mother who is gone.
The living person might join the dead.
Join the dead.
That's premature death, if you mean. So
it depends on the age of the person speaking.
Well, she doesn't sound that old. Okay. One says, I had a dream. Hello, mighty man. I'm Eugene from East Legon. Hello, Eugene. Thank you for joining us. It says, I had a dream in which I saw white eggs. Plenty of them, actually. Okay. What does it mean? Joseph Ajim on the line. White eggs. What did you do with them? Were you frying some or cooking some? What did you do? Joseph Ajima in Tema, thank you for joining us on the Walk with Jesus. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I hope you're fine.
We're excellent by the grace of God. Thank you for joining us.
I'm also fine.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the conversation very well.
We thank God. We
I
thank
want to
God.
find out from the man of God. Does it take a man of God, pastor, prophet, for the dream to come true, or any other person can dream for it to come true? Secondly, is it true that because of what somebody is thinking of, that's why the person is able to have such a dream? And is it true that because of somebody ate something, a certain food late, it made a person had a dream during the night?
Oh boy.
I think the questions are many, but let me take.
Carry on.
Which one do I remember? You said, does it take a man of God before a dream can come to pass? It does not take a man of God.
It does.
It does not take a man of God. Anybody can dream. Any child of God can dream and work on the dream, and then the dream comes to pass. If we are not careful, we create a scenario where if I dream, I have to see a man of God. That is why I'm saying that you need some of this principle to be able to decode certain dreams yourself.
Okay. This is a very interesting. Moses Jakago says, I had a dream. I was flying. Please, what does it mean?
Flying from where to where? You just
flying.
In the dream you were flying.
Yeah, you could be flying around. I know a lot of people have had those dreams. I think when I was younger, used to have those dreams as well. You see yourself flying over the electricity cables and all that kind of stuff, maybe in your neighborhood, some place.
I'm certain that in such situations there must be something to, necessitate that flying.
Okay.
But
it's not a sign of witchcraft.
Not really.
Or
sometimes it could be deliverance.
Okay.
Okay. Some people are coming after you.
Okay.
And then you are raised.
Yeah.
It could be deliverance.
Yes.
Because raising, it is not in the Bible. We saw how God was able to, take certain people.
Okay.
You see, God can. What about? Was it Stephen? Who was? Or Philip? Moved to encounter the
Ethiopian eunuch. Yeah.
So not every flying does not necessarily mean witchcraft.
Okay. All right. One says, good evening, Reverend Abose. In 2004, I had dreamt that a very big hand gave me an admission letter to the university for my bachelor's degree. This was after several attempts to get admission failed. I prayed and fasted. One night I had this dream. I woke up and was happy. I never told anyone, but I constantly prayed. It came, prayed and it came.
Prayed, it came and it did.
And it did. Okay. Wow. Emmanuel Kashi from Ashaman, Lebanon.
So you see, big hand.
Big hand. Was that the hand of God?
A big hand giving you admission.
Okay.
And the Bible says a lot of things about hand.
Okay. Yes.
Says a lot, both in God, and so Jabez's prayer.
Yeah.
Let your hand
be upon me.
So.
Okay. All right. I think our time is up. Is it possible to continue this going forward? We'll see. Well, Prof, we will plead with you because the questions are many. I believe that next week we can see if we can wrap it up somehow, some way. But God bless you. Maybe a closing comment.
Okay.
A closing comment before we wrap it up.
I would like to say that every child of God, with your knowledge in the Bible, your understanding of the culture, and being spiritually connected to God, you are supposed to be able to interpret certain dreams. Don't wait until the bigger dreams come. Start from where you are. Start interpreting it. See whether they come to pass. By that, you mature in that area, and you are able to interpret most of the dreams you have. Amen. So that you don't need to depend on prophet, apostles, or bishops for simple interpretations that you could have done. Thank you.
And of course, and that's my guesting studio, Prophet Godibet Gabin. We gotta go. Many thanks to my producer and of course Prophet